That was there for the second. Yeah, because they were playing like 2 games. So apparently next one is gonna be played on Ghost Lake. No, so are we gonna be having some more reasonable map? Currently for Melancholy. It should be the same matchup. Yeah, Hades and Thor. So let's see if this time it's gonna be going a bit better for Melancholy, or if Ourk is gonna be again executing pretty well. It seems like it's gonna be 1 gold variant. With plenty berries, a hunt is gonna be right now discovered with... Oh, it's not entirely too helpful having actually the polar bears right next to hunt. So he has to be careful how many villages he's actually gonna be sending over and in. It's Melancholy on the other side. He's gonna be having the bears in a bit of a different spot. So he's gonna be a bit happier, I guess. But he also doesn't see the hunt. He's gonna be starting on Aurochs, which are gonna be divided. That's basically like the stupidest position, because it's gonna be costing him possibly on 1 more granary. So maybe even wanting to think if he needs to be making granary for that one. It slightly depends where the Ourk is in his territory. Because if he could be moving somewhere like here, still be walking time, but he'll be possibly saving 50 wood on the granary. No, would still slow him down. But maybe some kind of idea for possible further decisions on him, as he at least knows there's gonna be further hunt number 2. So 2 of those available. Gold is gonna be also not entirely too great for Melancholy. You can see the tower nearby, sure, all nice and sweet, but sentinels are also going to be not entirely too much far away. So therefore this is gonna be open. Forest fire is gonna be messing up with this natural protection. So I'm thinking we might be seeing actually fairly similar kind of like progress as in the last game. As Ourk is gonna be already taking the first polar bears, of course. Then moving forward, and we do have even some relics here available. Tusk of the Iron Boar, pretty nice, considering of course the cavalry that Melancholy is gonna be facing from Ourk. And the second is going to be for Belt of Argus, which is even, of course, maybe even better for the better vision, and therefore much easier raid-in. Interesting town center with the gold mine here to the top, but apparently it's going to be the lower gold variant of Ghost Lake, only having 4, 2 for each player. So 3 to the top, 1 to the south. Yeah, a bit of a classic thing on the original maps. On the current maps, if you're gonna be having... Basically the distribution is mostly, if not like almost all the time, somewhat equal. Then you wouldn't be having like 3 and 1. You would be having somewhat of a even number at least. To be at least somewhat tied. Maybe like you would be having 4 versus 2, for example. But you shouldn't be having too many situations like these where you're gonna be having only 1 gold mine, for example, available. That really shouldn't be that much of a thing. Not really. You can see how many ghosts does he have already. It's gonna be there for 5, and 3 is about like 8. On the other side, we're gonna be ready with about 5 as well. No, some kind of slight advantage for Ourk, but probably nothing entirely too major and extreme. At least so far it looks like. Oh, there are not all that many goats in the first place, so it's also gonna be maybe par with. Okay, there we are. And we are at about 3.5 minutes. So that should be already maybe getting ready for Ourk to possibly advance. You can see it now, he's already having the food almost there. So where is the temple? There is the temple. Quite a bit forward. Again, today you would be not necessarily placing it in such a position. Maybe it could be actually positioned somewhere, maybe even in between the forest and that sentry tower. Maybe it would be a bit more likely. That maybe it could be the case. But well, of course here we still having plenty time, it looks like, for Melancholy together here. He should be, maybe should be also splitting the villages a bit more, because currently you don't want to be having that many of those at one place, because exactly of this walking time. You want to be avoiding that, so a few of them maybe to the top, and the group here to the right. Just having a few of them all over, because obviously for the Norse he can be quite a bit more mobile with the ox cart, so he usually can be actually fixing it a whole lot easier than otherwise. You can see Ourk is gonna be housed temporarily. Not entirely a problem now. He's still having enough time, because in AoE 2 it could have been a problem, because there you can't even start making the unit if you are gonna be housed. Here you're just gonna be finishing to 99%. So that's a whole lot more forgiving and less punishing on that, as the advance will be there for still the classic 515. You can see it's advancing the same as in the Tundra. That would be really considered a very late advance in today's meta, day and age. As for Melancholy, he is going to be in the end not entirely that much slower. You can say now this time the houses won't be at least destroyed by the forest fire. It's going to be a bit easier. But Polar Bears, he knows about those, right? Yes, he does. Those are theoretically something that he can be using still to a good effect. It's 400 food. 200 on each is very good result still. Freya and Athena at the same time. The longhouses times 2. It's gonna be probably somewhat similar to last game, I guess. If it's working, then why change that? So therefore cavalry together with throwing axemen. With some heresies of course queued in as well in between. To be able to counter the Minotaur and potentially just of course some kind of extra starting army on the advance. It always is a quite nice bonus for the Norse, as he's gonna be already visiting the Valkyrie, which so far is not being countered because Chiron is only on the way. And seems like Ajax was going for a relic somewhere, probably. Yeah, seems like he was trying to catch the top one, so at least right now Minotaur is gonna be trying to help. But it will still cost, you can see, even a second village already. Kinda interesting how he basically doesn't go back this time. It's gonna be a straight, right now building around the granary, which is a bit unusual because you don't have that much of a food here left. Was he maybe thinking about the berries? Simply would have been seeming a bit better to be going straight home for the rest of the goats and also potentially the berries there. Or maybe of course already switch to the top side, but frankly that seems to be just a bit of a recipe for disaster anyway. It would have been just a whole lot better to be going home and staying there and hoping for the best. But he's probably wanted to do and try something different than in the last game in maybe some kind of hope of a different result. Okay, that Valkyrie, no, it's gonna be quite a few hits here, or quite a few. There's apparently only like 1 or 2 hits from the Chiron, so therefore the hit points are still gonna be quite a bit high, and obviously now Melancholy is gonna be immediately punished, exactly as we said that he will be. So not that much of a secret that that's going to happen, obviously. So therefore, there we are, and we are going to be not entirely having too much of a good result here. It's gonna be probably quite a few lives lost. Not necessarily just immediately now, as the RTS will be saving a few of them, but the hit points will be lower, and therefore the next trade-in is going to be appropriately deadly. Now, and in the meantime, we can see to the top the Centaur, or the Centaur. Oh well, Centaur is gonna have to right now fall back, but I also wanted to more say that the Minotaur is gonna be already dealt with. Obviously here for Ourk is not gonna be any kind of issue. 55 pop limit right now for Melancholy, whereas Ourk is gonna be a 66. So at least the difference is not as high as in the last game. Seems like it, even through the complications on the hunt, Melancholy is doing a bit better. Okay, medium cavalry getting researched into the middle of the fight, also good help. But obviously there's gonna be a secondary squad coming for the hunt, right behind Melancholy. Nice little move. And now potentially can be maybe luring the army away again, and wondering, I kind of wonder if maybe Melancholy will be falling for that, and therefore of course allowing Ourk to just like the other army coming from the top, and of course the classic move in general. $80 pop for Ourk, and maybe gonna be a good time currently to check out how's he looking with economical upgrades, as Blue is going to be at still only hunting dogs and nothing else. Whereas Ourk is going to be at hand axe and pickaxe. I mean, like those upgrades on the Norse, that's because of the late advance. That's because of the 515 advance that he has, that's allowing him to upgrade all the economy, because otherwise of course in today's age you will be advancing about, I don't know, 440 at max. Or 45 or whatever, and you wouldn't be having the resources for it. So at max you are getting some pickaxe somewhere after advance, and that would be really unlikely for the Thor. So already can see 93 pop limit for Ourk. Melancholy is gonna be at 84. Well, he's really holding pretty well. Much better than the last one. Significantly better with the classic combination of just again one of each. Throwing X-Men coming up in a bit higher numbers. I don't think there were actually too many of them just so far. You have seen basically mostly cavalry and some Hersirs, so currently it's gonna be finally some kind of change of pace currently for Ourk, and he's gonna be able to probably go for some fun maneuver again. He's trying that, right? Yes, he is. It's trying what actually worked for him really well in the previous game, so he's gonna be trying to do it again, but currently he's getting some slowdown, and because I'm thinking he selected actually the throwing X-Men to the top, because you could have seen he was going really slow into the fight. It'll be right now fine, gets the Toxo test, but yeah, we're getting healed up about the damage from the forest fire. But nonetheless, it looks like it's gonna be probably murder of Melancholy anyway. So you do have simply the upgrade into the medium cavalry, which is gonna be basically offsetting a kind of potential power of the geek units, and even the restoration, interestingly, because you could have seen we have fought effectively through restoration, and it still wasn't enough. And the population limit difference, as you have noted just a bit before, wasn't too large. So you could have been thinking that maybe restoration will be good enough, but nope, it wasn't. You can say now he's having the LOS, and the second relic was... this was actually picked up by Melancholy for the cavalry hit points. Okay. No, that could have been, of course, quite a lot worse, therefore, if Ourk had that. That would have been... No. That battle would have been definitely a lot worse for Melancholy in there. But obviously this is going to be resulting into a hunt having to be abandoned. It's still a decent amount of food here. About, what is it, 250. That to be a nice source of resources in there for a bit. But Melancholy is not going anywhere. Ourk is either. You can see 84 pop limit. Melancholy is gonna be at 59 currently. So, no. Is he actually really? Wait a second, how's he looking with villages? 32, 39. Ourk is gonna be a bit higher. Yeah, 37 and 31. Because obviously there is also the Ox card population limit. That is needed to be noted somewhat. No, but it's a very good army. Should be taking a few of the horses that are actually currently at full health and going for some raiding. No point in standing around with the others that he's healing, sure, but those guys, no need. Can be just kind of like circling around. Potentially he can be coming back if there's gonna be engagement, as he did so many times before. Simply no need to be really standing still too much. There's no real reason for that. No real reason for that at all. Got a high amount of shades. That was something that's somewhat of a problem last time, because with how the shades work, you are slightly also dependent on randomness, because there's a percentage chance you're gonna be able to get a shade. You can say now 20% shade that you get from a killed human. So it's not based on any kind of hit points or anything. Sure, more losses, more chances of getting a shade, but in the end, you are still kind of like fully dependent on luck. So it seems to me that Melancholy is slightly better off on that this time around. Let's see, all of these guys are gonna be gone. Probably trying to go for some raiding on the left gold mine, I imagine. But pop limit 99 for Melancholy. Ourk is gonna be already at 115. And are we therefore getting us some upgrades? Yes, we do. We're gonna be having the pierce resistance. Otherwise also bronze shield. Oh, already bronze shields actually. Seems like he's gonna be quite diligently utilizing the Dwarven Armory. No, I'm thinking that the big battle is right now coming here. He's having medium throwing X-Men, yes he does. On the other side we don't have basically any kind of upgrades whatsoever. And yeah, well, maybe should be taking also half of the cavalry from the top. But you can see he's quite nicely microing exactly into the archers. And while the villages are moving forward for the top gold mine. By the way, Melancholy doesn't see the bottom one, he does. It's a bit confusing why he's actually choosing that one. But even actually Valkyries gonna be shield maidens, and yep, army completely utterly demolished, and that's gonna be therefore resulting, I'm thinking at this point, into quite a bit uncompromising GG, looking at the low echo, and in general, you know, of course, the pop limit. So, yeah, well, that was a tough matchup in the olden times. Thor versus Hades. As you can tell, that's a bit of a different story today, though still kinda the Norse would be taking a bit of map control. but with the 2TC build, that Hades depends on the positions of the resources, sure, and the map. That's for sure, but he'll be probably having a bit better chances. There also has to be said, of course, Ourk was quite a bit skilled and knew what he was doing. Maybe some kind of inspiration even for today, because as he mentioned, the faster advances. Then the fast advance against the Hades doesn't necessarily have to be making that much of a sense. So if you go for the 515 build, then you can afford the economical upgrades, you can be affording the military upgrades fairly early. I don't know, maybe there also is some kind of small inspiration even for today. But yeah, well, of course, that's up to you, the players, to see and determine if that is really the case. You can see plenty of food here. Again, third level farms effectively because of the tree. And farms on the other side. Also effectively third level farms, so same idea. Weren't entirely too careful back then, even in 2005 still. Okay, so let's have a look into post game. That will be, you can see Ourk with quite a nice win in there. And we're going to be having about 1,500 and, what is it, 4,100 resources more for Ourk. It's actually even much big, isn't it? Much bigger difference than in the last game. Not really sure, but it almost seems that way. Military count same, but the battle was a different story. Yeah, the important part was that even in the restoration battle, Melancholy actually wasn't able to get any kind of great edge. 524 both for the Hades, sure. And against he was having literally 3 upgrades. So hunting dogs, classical age, and then he was having... What was he having? Ah, husbandry. Okay. So husbandry, hunting dogs, and classical age. Didn't really get too many of those. Three Shield Maiden Valkyries already. No, so that was a good performance by Ourk. Kind of showcasing the power of Thor in this matchup in the olden times. And, well, definitely challenging maps for Melancholy with the gold mines, both of them. So it was making it, of course, a bit easier, but it wasn't mostly about the gold. It was actually more about the hunt. And good map control for Ourk. GG. Okay, so that was therefore these 2 games. If you're gonna be interested maybe in the records, then I can possibly give you inspiration for the build maybe. Can give you the links into the chat. These are the games.